Good morning, everyone. Once again, this is Black Forest coming to you with another market analysis video. This morning, we're going to be looking at the USDCHF, also known as the Swiss franc. Okay, but before we get started, to break down this currency pair, we have to state that this video is for economic purposes only. This is not financial advice. Okay, but we all know why you guys are here. You guys are here to find good, credible Forex content that can help improve your ability as a trader and to help put a little bit of extra money in your pocket, okay? Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and break down this currency pair, okay? Now, before we get started to talk about the technical analysis and everything, we have to discuss what is happening with the fundamentals of each of the currencies, okay? We're going to start off with the Swiss franc, okay? Now, the Swiss franc is in a very peculiar situation, okay? It's a native country of Switzerland is dealing with a lot of dealing with a lot of inflation, and it's also dealing with very high gas prices. But this inflation and high gas prices is affecting it very bad. Okay. And then on the other hand, even though prior to this trading week, we did have a lot of FUD, which is fear, uncertainty, and doubt surrounding the whole entire European economy due to the destabilization of the Ukrainian-Russian war and how that destabilized the European comment, excuse me, how it destabilized the European continent economically. We're starting to see very positive peace talks between Russia and Ukraine, some of the best peace talks we've had since they've decided to sit down at the table. So we should start to see a pickup in strength in our major three European currencies, which is the euro, the Swiss franc, and the GDP. But what's happening with the Swiss franc is even though the peace talks are looking good, it's still performing as weak because its country is dealing with a lot of heavy inflation. It's dealing with a lot of heavy gas prices. The government has not put any type of policies in place to try to combat these high gas prices, try to combat this high inflation and that negative ripple reversal effect from them trying to sanction Russia on Russia's natural gases and natural goods and goods coming out of Russia to try to punish Russia for invading Ukraine. That a negative reversal effect is hitting Switzerland very hard right now. Okay, so this is why even though with the good peace talks, it's still looking and performing as one of our weaker currencies going into this trading week. Okay, because the peace talks can go well, and then there could be peace in Europe. It'll probably give it some temporary strength, but its overall country's economics are not in a good place right now, which means its currency is going to be weak. Okay. Now with the USD, we have a lot of good positive things for the USD. That's looking like a outlook of picking up of more strength picking up with the USD. We have the economic policies, measures, and interventions that the Fed and the American government put in place to combat inflation, along with the increase in interest rate, is doing well. Looks like it is starting to bring prices down. And on top of that, we're starting to see gas prices. We're starting to see gas prices go down because of the increased circulation of supply and oil in the world. And between the Russia and Ukrainian peace talks, is also showing good news for increasing oil circulation around the world too, because if the Ukraine and Russia comes to some type of settlement or a ceasefire or a treaty agreement, then we could see the sanction embargo on Russian oil and gas and and natural gas. That embargo would be lifted, and then you will see an increase in supply of oil circulation around the world, and you'll see a drop in the price. Now, the way that's going to affect is the U.S. dollar is that if prices on oil per barrel continue to go down, that means gas prices at the gasoline stations and the pumps will continue to go down, which means that gas will cost less. Americans will have more money to spend on consumer goods. More money being spent on consumer goods is going to uplift the economy and make it grow, and a growing economy is going to have the U.S. dollar gain stronger. Okay, so we're having a whole ripple effect of things going on. Okay, now with all that said, after that, let's break down what's happening on the charts. Okay, so we were in the range for about 30 or 45 days, as we said in previous videos, right? Then we came up and we broke it here. Now, when we broke this here, we was in a situation where we had two weaker currencies with the CHF acting as the weaker currency. Okay, and it started to pick up, pick up, pick up, pick up, pick up, and then we did have some retracement down. Okay, we did have some retracement down, but it stopped in the area where price picked up before, which is always promising. And then, as we said in the last video, price was going to pick up to this general area here before we start getting hazy again. Okay, so now we're starting to range out a little bit. We may drop as far as here or even here before we continue to go back up into the long position. Okay, or we could range out for a little bit more before we drop down to this area here and head towards the long position, okay? Now, being that CHF is still one of our weaker currencies heading into this week, and the USD is starting to pick up strength, is it possible we could see a price turnover? But in order for a price turnover to happen, you were going to have a drastic shift in our fundamentals, which is going to have to be too many coinciding events to happen. So, is it possible? Yes, because a lot of things are possible. Is it probable? No, not really. So we're still looking like we're going to be going in for the long position. Uh, for the for to continue into this trading week, we're still looking like we're going for the long position. This looks like we may have some retracement down to either this area here, or we can get a little bit in this area here before we continue to go up. But for the most part, we're going to continue to go up into the long position just because of how the fundamentals is playing out in each respective currency. Okay. I hope that information was helpful for you guys. Happy trading.